Just to answer the first question, of course we say that we need to build an Islamic democratic state similar to the first one that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, built in Medina, where Christians were incorporated, Jews, two fighting tribes were incorporated, there was rotation of power. In 1967, we expelled the Libyan Jews in the most barbaric way because Jamal Abdel Nasser lost the war. Does that mean that in 1967, suddenly we discovered ourselves we are Muslims? These people, they have been Libyans for over 2,200 years. We, in the Democratic Party, we say we give the right of return for the Libyan Jews that were uprooted from their homes, from their property in the most barbaric fashion. It was un-Islamic, and that's why our aim is to bring back the real Islam. And the real Islam is Amrahum Shura Bainahum. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he was asked about something to do with the plantation of palm trees and it didn't work out right, he said, no, you should excel among you. So politics is a human interaction, human to human. Leave the divine dimension out of it. Coming back to that, I wanted to answer that guy.
Yeah, you can answer.
Because he wants to answer this guy.
You've got two questions.
Okay.
I'll answer your question, but at the same time also deal with a couple of the points raised by Ahmed, because I'm afraid that he's bringing some straw man arguments, and perhaps that's because until now I haven't really explained the vision of Khilafah or the vision of what is an Islamic state. Because some of the arguments which he brings, and we can agree with him. First of all, we can agree that the people should have choice, and Islam gives people choice. Yes, this is the first thing. So we can agree that the ruler should be elected by the choice of the people. The ruler has to have the legitimacy of the people. This is the first thing. The second thing which you can agree with him in is that imams or the so-called religious scholars, it's not necessarily that they are the ones who should run. Obviously they need to take the political legitimacy from the people in the same way that anyone else does.
Correct.
Because most of the imams, as a result of the religious education over maybe the last few centuries, not that long, but the last few centuries, has unfortunately developed a mindset which is not capable of politics, actually. Frankly speaking, it's capable of explaining to someone their rules linked to prayer and to fasting, but it's not capable of politics according to siyasa Shariah, siyasa according to the Islamic way. But the question where then we divert after. So please accept that from me. Yes, first of all, the leader should be elected. Yes. We saw this after the death of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, that Abu Bakr was chosen by the people after him. And then Umar ibn Khattab, Abu Bakr selected him with the consent of the people. And then Umar ibn Khattab selected 6, and between them, they had election between Uthman and Ali, if you want to just summarize it. And Uthman radiallahu anhu was found to be the most popular for the choice of Khalifa rather than Ali. So we see that always the choice. And Umar ibn Khattab even said inside one of his sayings, he said, let the people, you should not appoint a Khalifa without consulting the people. Otherwise, the one who appoints him and the one who is appointed might be killed by the people. The people are not going to be happy with your choice, so you need to consult the people and appoint the Khalifa. But this is the issue of electing who's going to run the system. The question is, what system is he going to be running? This is the key question here. And this is where we have our diversion now. Let's focus on this diversion. The diversion between me and Ahmed is between having a system based upon Islam, whereby the rules and laws are derived from ijtihad, from the Quran and Sunnah, and applied upon the society, with the man who is elected by the choice of the people, the one responsible for their implementation, compared to a secular democracy whereby the rules and laws are decided by the decision of the majority of the parliament. I don't even say the decision of the majority. Majoritarian democracy doesn't exist. Democracy is actually, even in its form that you see it practicing today, it's a failed ideology. People inside America recognize that it's a failed ideology. That's why they're going onto the streets, occupy Wall Street, because they realize democracy in their way means the elites run the country. The bankers, the international businessmen, these are the ones who run the country. You cannot become president of the United States unless you're a millionaire and unless you have the backing of other millionaires. This is a fact and a reality. The same thing in the UK. There's no choice between the political parties inside the UK. So this is if you go and read, Ahmed, go and read the theory of elite democracy. Yeah, there's a theory called
It's self-adjusting.
So
The
Please
process.
don't answer the question.
So in
He's
no, no, it's-
giving a speech. It's not
I'm
answering.
going to let you
Yes.
respond.
no. Finally, the other straw man which I just wanted to point out, Ahmed, this issue of Jews and Christians, and the history of Islam showed actually that Jews and Christians lived underneath the Islamic State in Andalusia, in Egypt, in Istanbul. This is a reality. Yes, so we don't need to look at the example of Gaddafi or the example of Mubarak. You know, they found out recently that it's the Mubarak regime and Habib Adli that was doing the bombing of the churches inside.
Would you agree with me with the right of return for Libyan Jews?
I agree. Anyone who wants to live
Say
inside.
no, yes or no. Give me a reply.
I need to reply.
Please keep it down. Let
The,
them answer the question.
I'll reply in a way that is more comprehensive.
No, yes or no.
Any person could return to live underneath the Islamic State or to choose to live underneath the Islamic State. Anyone, as long as they agree to abide by the rules and laws of the Islamic State. Whether they're Jewish, Christian, whether they're Buddhist, whether they're animist, whatever. They can choose to live. If they think that this is the state that guarantees their security, guarantees their peace and tranquility, guarantees their rights, is just towards them and treats them fairly, has a fixed status such that they know where they stand in front of the law, and therefore they can choose that, just like the Jews of Andalusia chose when the Christians came and began to slaughter them at the time of the Inquisition. Thank you. Sorry for the slide.
We don't have a neutral chairperson. He's tilting more to the left. Good for you. Okay. To answer my brother here in the front, my Somali brother, your facial feature says that. I was raised.
Give me 1 second.
I'm speaking. No, that's very rude. Leave the microphone. I was raised in Mogadishu. I went to school in Mogadishu, and every day during dictatorship, I used to sing Abi Garashada Gaya Gaya Go Muhammadi Siyad. So it just shows you the level of brainwashing in the dictatorial systems. But Somalia was the most beautiful country I've ever visited, and I hope that those who aspire to destroy Somali, like so-called the Shabab movement, are curtailed in their. You are part of the kick for you.
So just keep on the topic, please. This is not about Somalia. This is about the Arab revolution. This is an intellectual debate. So can we stick on topic, please?
Okay. Coming back to the issue of the USA, what we're saying is that if the Libyan vote chooses the radical Wahhabi, the Brotherhood, in Egypt the Brotherhood came first, second the Salafi, and third the Brotherhood. So if the Libyan people go the same way as Tunisia, as Morocco, as Egypt, let it be. What we are doing, it's not for short-term gains, because we would like to take the first step. As the Chinese proverb says, a long journey starts with the first step. We have taken the stance to say that we will not live a life of denial, because what we see now in countries that call themselves as Islamic countries, there is a huge degree of abuse. The worst form of abuse is when it's wrapped in a religious wrapping. You can come and abuse me, but don't say this is the Quran and this is the Sunnah, as it's happening now in countries without need to name them. And if I answer the gentleman there who raised the correlation with Switzerland, Switzerland is a modern state in the way it looks after its nation. Sadly, prior to the 17th of February, Tunisia ranked #1 in the African continent so far as the economical indicators in terms of growth. But now what we want to see development, no more growth. Because the system that just believes in numbers, it has failed. We need to build the individual, the human. We need to regain human rights and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just remind everyone here and the speakers to stay on topic? This is an intellectual debate. It's not about nationalism. Thank you. Right there at the back with the blue top.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Ahmed Shebani that one of the most.
I'm very impressed. One agrees with me. Good.
Okay, so one of the most severe forms of oppression is when something is wrapped in the garb of something else and used that to oppress the people.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you look at Egypt, if you look at Tunisia, all of these, so we're talking about Ben Ali and we're talking about Mubarak, the regimes were wrapped in the garb of democracy. So it was portrayed to the people that you have legitimate democracy there, and the leaders were elected, and therefore what was actually going on in the country was, according to the will of the people. But actually, as we know, that it was dictatorship. Similarly, I think we can all agree that, for example, countries such as Saudi Arabia, it's wrapped in the garb of Islamic system, but actually it's also a dictatorship. So my question is actually both to the panelists, that if we put aside this idea, we're not interested in garbs, we're actually interested in the substance. So if we have substance versus substance, and in that sense secularism versus Islam, which system would actually be able to solve the problems of the people today?
Can I get a second question? Yes, in front of the guy with the blue top. Yes. Yeah.
Basically a question to Mr. Ahmed Shebani.
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
It's basically a question to Mr. Ahmed Shebani. You're the founder of the Libyan Democratic Party, right?
Yes.
And basically, I just want to ask you a question. How is the Libyan Democratic Party different to the previous Gaddafi regime? Because both of them are basically a nationalistic party, and however, the Libyan Democratic Party is fully Western. They're Western influence with the Algerians, France Square, and His Excellency Sarkozy, as you mentioned, and also.
Sorry, what did you say? Square?
No, how Algeria Square has been renamed to France Square.
Sorry?
How Algeria Square has been renamed to France Square.
Yes, correct.
And how it's basically a Western influenced society, right? The Libyan Democratic Party. And basically, I want to ask you, if this Western influence with the Libyan Democratic Party and anti-Western influence with Gaddafi's party, what I basically see here is, I see a change in Libya, I see the two extremes from the two opposite sides of the spectrum, and essentially I see two Gaddafis, which you, Mr. Ahmed Shebani, are quite frankly one of them, and also...
Please keep it.
The last question is basically, since you praise Mr. what's his name, Mohammed Bouazizi, I think if you praise Mohammed Bouazizi and call him a democratic prophet, I think you actually should follow him, and you can basically follow him by burning yourself like he did himself.
Very nice.
One last question. Now, please remind me that this intellectual discourse is a fundamental problem. Please take the noise down. Thank you.
Okay, just to take it away from the insults and the response from the insults back to the actual topic of the debate. From your introductions, I gained two things which you both had an issue with the way things were before the uprisings. One was the issue of accountability, and the second was a difference that you two had. One, Dr. Reza Pankhurst said that the people were calling for an independence, a geopolitical independence, to be independent from America, to be independent from Britain, independent from the UN maybe. And Dr. Ahmed Shebani, or Mr. Ahmed Shebani, actually said we should get help from the UN, we should get help from these countries.
Correct.
So the first question I will pose to both of you is, how would your substance, as the previous man mentioned, actually guarantee accountability to the people? And the second, why is it that you would say, or how is it that your system would guarantee either, or for the first, Dr. Reza, would guarantee independence from America, Britain, and the second, why is it that you, Ahmed Shebani, feel that the people need the help of the UN, America, and Britain? Why does it mean it's good for you?
I will ask the last question first. Very good question. We say that actually, with due respect to my Tunisian and Egyptian brothers, the change of regime in Egypt and Tunisia is not a real revolution, because you have the system, just like 30% of the hierarchy has been changed, but the rest of the system is the same. Specifically, the command and control, so far as the security apparatus, it is the same operational room. With Libya, it's different. It's a fresh start. And I need to be specific here. When we say the UN, we are not saying United States of America or Britain, because United Nations does not invade countries. United Nations give birth to nations. That's why we do not like Italy, France, United Kingdom. They're doing everyone on their own, and there is so much duplication of work. We're saying all should be from one desk service, that's the office of Mr. Ian Martin, and we are not shy to say that we do not know how to make the legal transfer, because democracy is a very sophisticated, advanced legal matrix. Nobody in the Arab world knows how to do it. So we are calling upon the help of United Nations. United Nations gave birth to Libya. Our sovereignty came from United Nations. Our constitution was written by United Nations. That's why we envisage that in 8 months' time is not a sufficient period to have a constitution, and we would like to have an interim constitution, and at least 3 years to write a proper constitution that the Libyans feel they own this document. Because ultimately the constitution has to be written and has to be for the people, in a similar fashion to South Africa when the apartheid system has collapsed. One important area we are lobbying for within our new constitution, inshallah, we follow the Greek example, is to have enshrined in our constitution the right to have access to the internet. Coming back to the brother that I think has disappeared from the room, who wants to burn me down. Ah, you're still there, good. So what I would like to say to you that why are you making two camps? Either you're Muslim or either you're secular. Our terminology is Islamic secular democracy, and we do not discount our spiritual identity, nor say that we do not adhere to the Islamic Maliki school. That's why we are not really very worried about the covert operation that the Wahhabi intelligence are trying to interfere in Libyan social fabric, because Libya is a Maliki nation. We have a very rich spiritual dimension in Libya, and the Libyans, they worship God out of love, not out of fear. And so far as saying that the Algerian square in downtown Tripoli, why we have decided to vote and to change its name to the French square, I'll tell you why. And to all those brothers who have been very critical why we have called for the NATO intervention and the West intervention. I'm not going to say where were you, but imagine I am a person in Libya and I can see the bullet was about to come and kill me. And suddenly somebody steps in the middle, a shield that is being put in front. Let's say not from NATO, it's from the devil, put in front, so to protect my life. Do you think I'm not going to be grateful? Where were the Arabs? Where were the Muslims when Gaddafi was killing us indiscriminately? As a matter of fact, I will take this opportunity to show respect, homage, gratitude, and appreciation to NATO-led operation, specifically to Her Majesty's government forces, to United States of America, to the Italians, to the French, for saving one Libyan woman, protecting one Libyan honor. And I show respect by bowing to them. كلام الفارغ هذا.